What's up, fish nerds, and welcome back. Today we are going to be setting up a new shrimp tank. I got some shrimp from Flip Aquatics. They were kind enough to hook us up. They are a channel sponsor, and I've been wanting to set up a Blue Dream tank for a while. So I reached out to Rob, and he sent me some. We're going to unbox them here in a minute, and some plants as well. And they were kind enough to send this nice little acclimating card with all the steps you need to go through to acclimate your shrimp when they send them to you, which is pretty cool. But opening this thing up, getting in here, we've got a bunch of plants at first because this being a new tank, I wanted to plant it as well, and so they sent us some plants. Here first, we've got some Cryptwintii. This is the bronze stuff, which is really nice. It's a plant that I'm very much a fan of, especially for low-tech tanks. I got some tiger lotus as well, another plant that I really like. That ends up getting some really nice bright pinky red colors. And we've got us some dwarf sage as well, and this stuff came in really tall, which is pretty sweet. I mean, it goes all the way to the top of the 10-gallon. You'll see that here in a little while when we put this stuff in the tank. And then also in here, I think the next plant is Brazilian pennywort, if I remember. Yep, Brazilian pennywort. This is a favorite plant of mine. Really like this plant. You can root it or float it. This is actually going in a different tank, so we won't see it later, but maybe in a future video you'll get to see it. But very much a favorite plant of mine, and they always send Swedish fish, which is pretty cool. Flip Aquatics always does that, just throws one in there in the package. Just a nice little touch they throw in there. All right, and checking out the shrimp here. I ordered 5 Blue Dream. They actually sent 6, and you should be able to see through the bag a little bit. They're definitely moving around in there, nice and active. Nobody's acting sluggish. Nobody's acting sick. Everybody came in looking really well. No DOAs or anything like that, and everybody's just swimming around, climbing around, acting nice and happy. But let's go ahead and go downstairs and get these in a tank. All right, so to start off this tank, setting it up, we're going to throw our hardscape in there, and that's just going to be a single piece of driftwood. And this piece actually came out of my old Blue Dream tank. I really like this piece of wood. I think it's got a lot of character to it. It's just pretty cool looking, if you ask me. And then we're going to start off with the plants, putting the dwarf sage back in the back. And you can see how tall this dwarf sage is. This is a 10-gallon tank, and that stuff goes all the way up to the top, and some leaves even actually kind of run along the top of the tank, which is pretty cool. And you saw there were 2 pots of the dwarf sage, but I'm actually going to plant like 6 plants here out of the 2 pots. Generally with your rooted plants like sage and jungle val and crypts and things like that, you're going to have multiple plants in a single pot. So you can divide those up. You can just plant them all together in one big bunch, but I like kind of maximizing what I get out of a single pot, and I'll just kind of break those up. And you don't have to break them up, just kind of separate them is really all you got to do when you take that rock wool off. And so I'm just kind of planting those along the back just to be our background plant, since they are a taller plant. Put those back there in the back, and of course, dealing with stuff like this, you're going to end up having one pop up every now and then. You have to shove it back down. And I know the tank looks a little rough right now with all that stuff floating around in the water. It looks like there's a bunch of junk in there. That does settle back down pretty shortly. What's going on there is that's actually just loose algae. Up until this point, when I was setting the tank up, this had just kind of been an algae farm that I had been letting run empty. There was just a single snail in the tank, and had lights running on it and the filter running and everything like that, just letting it age and season before we put anything else in it. And so there got to be quite a bit of algae up until this point, and right before I started filming, I had just scraped a bunch of that off of the glass, and so that's floating around in the water. And there was also a bunch growing on the gravel, so every time I stir up the gravel, all that soft green algae kind of comes up into the water. So that's what that stuff is. It's nothing to worry about or anything like that. It's just a little bit of algae that was growing when we didn't have any plants in here. And now I'm just going to plant the crypts here, and I did the same thing with the crypts that I did with the sage. I had a single pot of the crypts, and I broke that, I think, into 3 plants that are just going to spread around here. I really like this red Cryptwentii. I think it is one of the most underrated plants in the aquarium hobby. It's got a very unique look to it. I mean, it's a common plant because it's a very easy plant, but I think that's what makes it awesome. Because it is such an easy plant, it still looks good, it grows well, it doesn't have very, demanding requirements or anything like that. I think it's just a very underrated plant. Really love it. And then we're going to throw our tiger lotus up here in the front. And I had a little bit of a struggle here trying to get the roots down in the gravel with while trying to not bury the bulb. You can't really see that. The gravel's kind of off camera. The camera is a little too close to the tank for you to really be able to see that, so I apologize for that, but that's what's going on there. But wanted to throw that tiger lotus up front just for a nice splash of color, and I think it'll look really nice contrasting with the blue shrimp. And speaking of those shrimp, I apparently forgot to hit the record button when I was actually adding them to the tank. So this is the tank a few minutes after I had added them in, and they've already started settling in and scrounging around for food. You see this guy hanging out on some of the algae here in the corner of the glass, and I apologize, the camera has a hard time focusing when there's algae on the glass like that, especially on something as small as these little shrimp. And I love these guys, these little blue Neos. I think they're gorgeous, and probably my favorite Neocaridina. And the care for them is super simple. It's just like red cherry shrimp, and I do have a video on how to take care of these guys. I'll link that up in the corner for you guys to check that out. I'll throw a link down in the description as well, so you guys can see how to take care of these guys. And I want to say a huge thank you to Flip Aquatics for hooking me up with these. They did send me these for free. They are a channel sponsor, but I would honestly say this, even if they weren't, because 1, they're my friends, and 2, just their quality is unmatched in my opinion. But if you guys want Neocaridina shrimp or Caridina shrimp or plants for your aquariums, definitely go check out flipaquatics.com. And they have nanofish as well, but definitely check them out. They quarantine all their livestock before they send it out. They're not going to just get it and immediately turn it around and mail it out like a lot of other shops do. They're going to make sure that what you get is healthy, and really appreciate that and appreciate them hooking us up with these guys. And I'm really excited to see how this tank turns out once we have a whole bunch of these shrimp. And I did notice even just a few days after filming this, when we first added the shrimp in, I already had a buried female. So I'm really excited to see this tank explode and be covered with all these blue cherry shrimp in here. Really excited about it. So major thanks to Flip Aquatics, and thank you all for watching. God bless you, fish nerds. I'll see you next time.